So, good day everyone. My name is Kalin Andrew Opasigan and I'm from 11 News 4. And I learned that communication is derived from the two Latin words communis, which means commonest, and communicare, which means to share. Communication is the act of passing information from one location, person, or organization to other. However, communication isn't the same as talking to your friends, families, significant other, or other people. Communication is the way of communicating and interpret your feelings by using the right words and by using what communicating to use. It is so important. It has a part of it that we call sender, receiver, channel, noise, and feedback. Communication helps us to make our life easy. Think of it. If we don't have communicating to others, we cannot express our feelings directly. We cannot say what are real feelings. Communication is the use of illustrating, elaborating, approaching other communication tools you see in front of your house or chismosa. And most of all, used in work and studies. Communication is the only way to avoid our mental health issues like anxiety and depression. Communication is the key. When you have a communication to others, it's easy to have a friends, and by that we can express what our thoughts about them. For me, communication is one of the important need of human being. And with the use of communication, we can handle our different kinds of thoughts about something, and there will be less misunderstanding that might lead us to bad things. Thank you.
The act of sending information from one location, person, or group to another is known as communication. Every communication has a sender, a message, and a recipient. These factors include our feelings, cultural context, communication medium, and even geographic location. As a result, a communication contains three components: the sender, the message, and the recipient. The message is encoded by the sender, who usually uses a combination of words and nonverbal signals. It is sent in some form, and the recipient decodes it. Of course, there could be multiple recipients, and due to the complexity of communication, each one might get a slightly different message. Two people may interpret the same words and body language in totally different ways. It's also likely that neither of them will comprehend the message in the same way as the sender. Now we have here the categories of communication. A verbal communication, face-to-face, telephone, radio, or television, and other media are examples of spoken or verbal communication. The next one is nonverbal communication. Body language, gestures, how we dress or act, where we stand, and even our scent are examples of nonverbal communication. We interact with people in a variety of subtle ways. Now, let's move on to the next, which is the written communication. Letters, emails, social media, books, periodicals, the internet, and other forms of written communication are all examples of written communication. Until recently, when it came to communicating the written word, a relatively small groups of writers and publishers wielded enormous power.
Nature and process of communication. Nature of communication. Communication is a vital to our life. Communication starts relationship. Communication is a dynamic process. Communication is an interactive process. Language. If there is a language barrier existing, communication is impossible. Knowledge. If one has limited information about a topic under deliberation, then there will be an imbalance in terms of sharing of information. Interest. There should be the same level of interest so that there will be a continuous exchange of information. Experience. Having similar experiences with the person we are conversing with all enable us to relate to the other person as we are familiar with what he is going through or what he went through. Culture. There should have the same culture to facilitate comprehension of the message being transmitted. Why do we need to study communication? To understand ourselves as a social being, to gain professional competence, to understand ourselves as a person, to preserve cultural values. The main element of communication. Number 1, context. Situation, setting, or environment. Number 2, sender. Speaker, source, or encoder. Number 3, message. Key element transmitted in communication. Number 4, channel. Medium, pathway through which message travels. 5, receiver. Decoder or listener. The interpretation of message will depend on the receiver. Number 6, feedback. Reaction, the return of the loop of communication.
Hi, hello, mabuhay! I'm Yalina Macy Palahang of 11 UMS 4. I learned that communication is the imparting or exchanging of information by speaking, writing, or using some other mediums. The transmission or flow of information or a message from the sender through a designated route to the receiver while overcoming impediments that slow it down is referred to as communication process. The communication process is cyclic in nature as it starts with the sender and ends with the sender in the form of feedback. The communication process is a set of acts or stages that must be followed in order to communicate effectively. The sender of the communication, the actual message being delivered, the encoding of the message, the receiver, and the decoding of the message are all involved. Communication serves a variety of purposes, including informing, raising awareness, educating, persuading, motivating, and entertaining. In an organization, communication serves to inform, convince, and motivate. The 3 most well-known models for communication are linear, interactional, and transactional. Communication models are conceptual models that are used to understand the process of human communication. The scenario or environment in which the conversation takes place is referred to speech context. Intrapersonal, interpersonal, and public communication are the 3 types of speech contexts. Intrapersonal, it refers to the communication with one's self. This form of communication is often done for the purpose of clarifying ideas or analyzing a situation. For example, a person uses a self-talk to calm him or herself down in a stressful situation. Interpersonal communication refers to the exchange of information between and among people, as well as the establishment of personal relationships between and among them. For example, you provided comfort to a friend who was feeling down. Public communication. This style of communication entails delivering or sending a message in front of a group. For example, delivering a graduation speech to your batch. Communication is how we meet others, create, maintain relationships, and work effectively with others. Problem solving. conflict resolution, team building, and public speaking are all skills that can be used to improve critical thinking. Successful communication should include the ability to communicate differing viewpoints as well as person agreeing on an issue. Respect helps the other person or individual know that it's fine to have different feelings than you do, and that thinking about it is also fine. Thank you.
First week, we tackle about communication. And to be able to produce an successful communication, people should have something in common, and these are language, interest, experience, culture, and knowledge. In fifth week, we tackle about models of communication. The first one is Aristotle's model. It is a speaker-centered model. 5 elements are speaker, speech, occasion, audience, and effect. Shannon Weaver model. Elements are source, transmitter, channel, decoder, destination, and noise. Effective communication skills. Communicating to other people does not only include exchanging ideas or information. It requires understanding too. You should understand what the speaker is trying to say so you can respond in proper way. Listening is hearing with understanding. Paying attention to someone talking is a must. Never interrupt who is speaking, especially when she or he is not your friend or close one. They might think that it's rude. Never interrupt who's speaking, especially when he or he is not your friend or close one. Show some interest by looking, smiling to the speaker, or simple answering yes or go on when they are telling stories. Pay attention to nonverbal signals. This is mostly used in group conversation like the sign, and raising eyebrows. Provide feedback to assure the speaker if you're listening to and when he or she asking for advice. Ask questions too because you can't interrupt them when they are talking. By asking questions, you are able to clarify what does that thing mean. Get rid of distractions like by using smartphone. They will feel that you are not interested to what they are saying or telling to you. And last, the most important of all is set aside judgments. Stating your opinion may lead to complications. Maybe they will get hurt. Remember, not all people willing to accept criticism. Just keep it on your mind for a meantime.
Hi everyone, my name is Denise Pineda and this is the lesson I learned about oral communication. Communication is necessary for us. Why? Because communication is the act of giving, receiving, and sharing information to other people, groups, or individuals. It is fundamental to the existence and survival of humans as well. In communication, we can express ourselves, our feelings, and emotions, and it helps us to socialize and enhance our social skills. And in communication is important for us because it helps us from our daily living, like we can listen to other people's thoughts and bring us closer together and makes us strong bonds. It bridges the gaps between individuals. In simple definition, communication is the act of transferring information from one place or person to another. And you need a reading skills, speaking skill, writing skills to persuade the listeners, readers, and the viewers. That's why communication is important to everyone. Thank you.